Hi, I am Frederic Delarue and I'm here today to talk to you about my first near-death experience that I had at the age of 12. It was in France, in the town of Chartres, where I grew up, between the cities of Paris and the region of Normandy. I was with my family. My dad was driving, my mom close to him, and my brother behind my dad and me behind my mother. At the time, in the rear of the cars, seat belts were not required. So we were crossing a national road in Chartres, and then I see a car coming way too fast on my right. And of course the car, before I had time to say anything, and before I knew it, the car hit the door where I was sitting. Both me and my brother popped in the air, and luckily for my brother, and also because his body was very flexible at the age of 5, he rolled on a grassy area on the side of the road, and neither of my mom or my dad were injured. From what the witnesses said, I really was propelled very high in the air, and my body fell like a rock on the road. So of course my body and my face was very injured. It was quite a mess, actually. To give you an example, my left eye was out of its orbit, and the surgeon, when I survived, said that it was quite of a miracle, even though he didn't understand what happened. But it was a miracle because what he said exactly was something must have hold the tiny ligament, so the eye doesn't really live completely. So at least he could fix it this way. And he thought it was a miracle that it didn't really make any sense that since it went out, it didn't completely went out. And so I'm very grateful because I know deeply that it's thanks to the angels who of course hold that ligament. And I will let you know more about that later, why I know it is the angels. So I was laying on the ground on the road and on a deep coma. My soul had left the body because the body was such in intense pain, I believe, then the soul in this case left the body. So I was between two worlds in the deep coma. Between the worlds where everything is infinite love, infinite freedom, no physical limitations, no physical matter, no physical attachment. So you could fly through walls, fly anywhere in a moment. It's like as if imagine if you are in the United States of America, you live in the USA, and then you're thinking, oh, I wish I were in Hong Kong right now. And just before you finish that sentence, you're already in Hong Kong. It's a little bit like this. It's in the instant. It happens instantly. So the sound was very important in the coma. I could hear everything amplified like 100 times. To give you an idea, I could even hear a feeling. An internal feeling of pain was transposed as a sound. So it was really unbearable for me because I couldn't understand why people on earth had so much pain. I said, can't they understand, can't they feel that I am great right now? Because I have no limitation, I am in the light. Like I wrote in my book, Eyes of Your Heart, that I just wrote, I felt so light in the light. And that is the simple, beautiful truth. So the ambulance came, and I did a video, by the way, about people in the coma, because I think there is a big misconception of when people are in the coma and how to behave in that situation. So there is another video I made on YouTube that you can find. The ambulance came, and the nurse honestly was God and heaven sent. After he kindly asked my dad to leave, he said, you're okay now. And just boom, I was in that huge dark tunnel. My body was, I was floating, my legs my feet forward, and like this. It was going at such a fast pace, and I could see the bright light at the end of the tunnel. It was really bright, really brilliant, really vivid, really radiant, bright and sharp. However, even though it was sharp, it was not hurting. It's hard to describe because this kind of light doesn't exist on this earthly plane. But it was so overwhelming of pure love. It was embracing you with so much love, with the greatest love ever you could ever meet, you could ever encounter. So about at the end, at the middle of the journey in the tunnel before really reaching the light, two angels came, and on each side, and huge, humongous, very wide, very tall. They would get the height of the tunnel, and they just said, "Don't worry, you're okay. All is well. We're here with you, and we love you." And it felt really peaceful, no control. You know, when it's like this, you have no control about anything. You just let it be, and it's just beautiful to let it be. At the same time, angels of beings of light arrived, and I called them beings of light. Nobody told me they are beings of light, but I call them beings of light because I really think they are. They are kind of a shape of a kidney pole, and kind of a cottonous texture, somewhere thicker than others, somewhere wider than others, somewhere going faster than others. And they just told me, I got the feeling, let's say, that it was a gap. They were used in this life as a gap, as they would absorb our negative emotions. So of course they are everywhere in our daily life. Whether we are aware of it or not, whether we like it or not, they are part of our system. Very different from the angels that only come when you call them forth. Unless there is an emergency case when it's not your time to go, then they come to save your life, like they did for me. And of course, as soon as I left the tunnel, I was still in the tunnel, and I finally reached that bright light. And as soon as I reached that bright light, I was in the hospital. I arrived at the hospital, the ambulance arrived at the hospital, and I could see the nurse inside the hospital panicking and saying, he's dead. And I said, well, I'm dead. And I couldn't believe that because for me, it was like having a great time. And if that's what it is to be dead, then I can't wait. It's great to be able to fly anywhere with no limitation, without being controlled. It's total freedom, pure freedom. So then I don't remember anything after they injected me something. Only where I remember when I came back to my body, it felt awful. I came back through sequences, it goes back like this. You go back to your body and you feel the gravity, the heaviness, and of course the pain. So that was not very pleasant. What I got from that ND is a beautiful gift of music. God and the angels gave me that beautiful gift of creating music. And also I got a different perception of life, that what we see with our physical eyes is between 5 to 15% of what is. So imagine all the rest, all the 85% remaining, can only be seen and felt through the eyes of your heart. And I think if all of us would do that, we would live in a much better and loving world.